Good day everyone, Breanne from Pigment here, and today I'm going to be coloring some teacups. I am just going to start by getting my background in. Yeah, I could use soda pop, why not? So I'm going to go to my fill tools. I'm going to go to fade, it's already on there because I use it quite a bit. I'm just going to click this over to freehand mode, and I'm just going to fill it in. I want it to go all the way through evenly. I just kind of always turn it on freehand mode for when I'm doing my background. So I'm just mixing up some colors. Might even go to my colors and pick a palette. Maybe try this one. Trying to get like a little kind of rainbow essence going on. I don't want it too dark, but I do want a little bit of that deep color. Now I'm losing my orange. I play with it a bit. Just till I turn down the opacity a bit. Okay, well, I think that's okay for now. You can play with it as much as you want. You kind of get like this rainbow effect of like very faded colors happening when you keep on repeatedly adding colors. Sometimes I just do it till I like what's going on. So we're going to go to our airbrush tool, but first I'm going to actually fill in the teacups with the fill tool. Just the straight up fill. Yeah, I'll use the straight up fill. And maybe this nice blue will make it like a china set here. I'm gonna contrast whatever the background color is, and this blue stands out quite nicely. So there, I've got my teacup colors filled. Now what I'm going to do is add in some shading with the pencil tool first, and then I'll go to airbrush. I kind of changed my mind a little bit there. So I'm actually going to start with the pencil. And I just deepened up that color a bit because I'm going to add a little bit of shadows. I'm on full opacity, and I'm about 25%, 23-25% brush size there. Maybe make it a bit bigger, about 80% I guess. Oh, and I want to put it back in automatic mode as well. I'm just adding shading along the edges of the cup, or where I think there would be shadows. And I really love using the pencil tool for small details. I find it adds texture to your work. It's almost like a grain stroke, and it changes depending on your brush size and opacity. Just going to bring this up a bit, at about 90% now. kind of have to adjust your size depending on what you're shading and what effect you want to achieve. I'm just lightly touching towards the edge. I don't want a super huge effect like in the middle. And then I'm also just going to very lightly brush very lightly now. There's ways to hold your pencil to kind of get that soft feel to the brush or look to the brush. I'm just holding it towards the end, very lightly putting it on the screen and just dragging it. Oh, and I accidentally put that down. I was wondering what was going on there. Sometimes my hand runs across the edge and I adjust the opacity or the brush size on accident. And I'm like, what's going on? So I'm just dragging it across very gently, putting it darker where I want it darker, and then the rest very gentle. Okay, so now we're going to grab some other colors and just kind of play with mixing them in a bit. I'm going to use this purple, and I'm still going to stay on the pencil tool, and I'm just going to very gently brush it across the face of the cup and the handle and the plate. I'm just kind of going around in areas until I'm satisfied with the result. I'm going to grab this light blue. I'm just going to kind of put it throughout the middle as well, but very kind of brush strokey. And I also lowered the brush size. It's kind of the mixture of colors and textures that's going to give this a nice look, a nice feel. And this is kind of where my highlights are going to go as well, so. It's the first layer in my highlights. Okay. Now, I kind of like the colors that are set in here, but I'm thinking of making it more uniform. And I'm going to make it maybe possibly be a little bit darker. I'm going to add some light highlights possibly on top. So I'm going to go back to this dark blue and I'm going to go to my fill. But I'm going to go to my pillow this time, which kind of gives you a lighter effect, as you can see, towards the middle and darkens to the edges, which is really useful for kind of getting your shading in easily. And I'm just kind of trying to hit it towards the middle to kind of get an even. Sometimes with smaller pieces I gotta zoom in a little bit more, which is fine. For this one, I might do a darker purple. Nope. Again, those small areas, sometimes you just want to zoom in a little bit. I accidentally drew a line right down the middle of my, oh, never mind. Just goes to show how much times you can go back if you want to change your illustration or your coloring. So now I'm going to pick out another color for this flower. Thinking about it, I got a dark purple, a dark blue, maybe this olive type green. And I'm still using the pillow brush. Again, to get those smaller areas, you might want to zoom in a bit. Okay, so we got some variances in color going throughout the pattern, but the teacups are looking pretty much the same, and there is some shading and texture to be done with those flowers as well. So I'm going to go back to my pencil tool. I'm going to bring down my brush size a bit. I'm going to leave the opacity up, and I just picked this light pink to contrast the dark purple that I did. And I'm just going to put light, pressing very lightly. I'm just going to put some light strokes in there. Just to get that pop of vibrant color. And for the blue, I'm going to pick the light blue and press very lightly. And then for the green, same thing. I'm going to use a light green. And I'm going to highlight the areas that I think need light. Okay, now I'm going to maybe try adding a little bit of color to the blue because the cup is already somewhat blue. Just kind of have that little of a bit of a contrasting feeling. I'm doing some hard strokes, but most of them are light. You can tell where my hard ones are. It's dark. Okay, I like that, looks good. And I'm going to do the same now and just added some kind of color highlights to the other flowers as well. For the green, I'm going to use yellow. So I find green and yellow pair nicely together. Don't have to do a lot, that's actually more than enough right there. And for the purple, I was thinking maybe, what was I thinking? Maybe like a cream. Okay, so there you have it for the flowers, but I'm actually going to add some highlights to the middle one too, but I'm going to use the airbrush tool. So I'm going to go back to my Pigment ready-made palettes, and I'm going to go to the black and white gray palette, which I used a lot. And then I'm going to actually go to my airbrush now. I'm going to bring down the brush size to approximately 2%, maybe 1, depending on how it looks when I get started. Opacity all the way up. I don't want the gray, I want the white. I'm just gonna layer my highlights in where I kind of laid down that orange already in the darkest areas. And then I'm also going to add some highlights to the purple. But because I used a cream already for the, I'm going to kind of spread out my highlights I put some with the already made beige and then some in opposite areas. And I'm going to add some highlights as well to this flower. Oh, I got stuck here. What's going on? There we go. Freezing up a bit here. There we go. I notice sometimes that happens when I think I would say it's when people are liking your stuff or looking at your profile, but I'm not 100% sure. Okay. And I'm not done with the white yet, but I actually want to bring my pencil tool back out, and I just kind of want to lay it over the blue. I'm going to press a little bit harder. Where I want my highlight. I'm just color matching. I noticed I missed a little spot over there. I'm just going to make the insides of the cup black. I'm just going to use the black to shade a bit deeper in certain areas, but very cautious of where I put my black and thinking about my highlights or my shades a little bit more and not just plopping it anywhere. Think about where it should go. Think about if you're going to have a light source in your picture. Don't just put black in to have black. Make sure you're thinking about I'm putting it around my edges of where the cup kind of folds and comes in. Black and white are amazing tools for adding effects to your piece. Just gotta use them in the right manner. Now I'm just shading in where the cups kind of join. And then the plate, I'm just going to shade under where the handle is resting. Okay, now I'm going to take out my laser tool, and this is to enhance some of the highlights that I've done, but I don't want a big brush size. I want a very small brush size. High opacity. Okay, now I'm gonna get the color for my coffee in. So I'm gonna find this brown here, and I'm actually going to go to pillow again because I want the lighter color in the middle and I want the edges a little bit darker. Coffee, tea, whatever you're drinking. This obviously is tea because it has the little stringy string there. And then I'm just going to kind of add some lighter browny color. There's my tea, and then I'm actually gonna grab my pillow again and I'm going to just kind of fill in this little ticket, and then I'm going to go into a gray and I'm going to go to my fill. I'm gonna pick the metallic fill. Too dark though, maybe like this, still a bit dark. I'm going to take my airbrush put on freehand to make it easier to fill those in. I'm going to go to my laser. I'm going to bring my brush size all the way up, opacity down. Okay. I'm going to go to my technical pen, leave it on black, zoom in on this ticket here. Oops. Brush size all the way down. Maybe a little bit higher. Okay, and then I might add a little bit of steam to the coffee. I would need to be on freehand mode for this, and I actually would like a nice cream color for that. So we're going to go to our plasma. I'm going to bring up the brush size. I'm going to just leave the opacity, and I'm gonna make a little bit of steam for this tea. And then I'm gonna go to the bottom here and I'll pick probably a white would be the best bet, and then go to my airbrush and make sure I'm on automatic. Get a little bit of the plasma there, and a little bit of laser for just some random kind of shadow, or highlight I should say, under the teacups. And then if you want, you can add a little bit of flare around the piece. I'm actually going to grab this orange, just kind of add some sparkle just to give it some personality. Then I'm just going to go over to my plasma. Okay, and I'm pretty sure I'm close to being done my tea here. I keep on getting some last minute ideas. Just put in a little bit there, and maybe a little shine there. And I'd say those are the teacups pretty much done. Just gonna fix up a couple of things I noticed. I always look over my work when I'm done, analyze what I could do, and the shadowing I just noticed should maybe stretch all the way through, and then maybe have a little bit just kind of bleeding over here, make it look natural. It's always just subtle things that I notice when I'm done. You know, it's nice to evaluate your work, see what you've done, and if you see anything that can be added or changed or improved, I just kind of fix it up. It's a good thing to do, I should say, not what's. And there we go. I just notice things more when my picture is complete than sometimes when I'm sitting coloring it. You pull back and then you get those last minute ideas that could help improve your overall piece. And I just noticed that in some of the spots my shading was very broken, so I just kind of wanted to get it looking a little bit more fluid. I recommend that everyone does that. It's important to review your own work. Okay. So I think I'm feeling a bit better about the shading now. All right, and those are going to be my teacups. Yay! Thanks for joining me today, and I'll be doing more videos to come, and we'll talk to you soon. This is Breanne from Pigment. Take care, everybody.